Welcome to the Lab View Experiment podcast, bonus episode. I'm your producer, Taylor Oxley. In this episode, Sam Taggart and Steve Watts talk about what is GDevCon and how you can get involved. Enjoy!
I am here today with Steve Watts, and we want to do a brief conversation about GDevCon, since they're both coming up, GDevCon N.A. and GDevCon over in Scotland. And I want to give Steve an opportunity to just briefly tell us a little bit about what GDevCon is about and what they're looking for in terms of presentations. So how best to formulate a presentation so that you get through the filters and actually get a chance to present if you so desire. So Steve, why don't you go?
Okay, so this is the fourth GDevCon in Europe and the second GDevCon in North America, isn't it? No, third.
Third, actually.
Third in North America. So that's wonderful. And I just wanted to sort of do a very brief sort of intro into what GDevCon is and why it exists. So the initial reaction that created GDevCon was the fact that we were having trouble putting presentations on through the NI platforms, like NI Days, remember them, NI Week. Things were changing around us and that we had no control over. And really a lot of effort was being put in by us presenters, the community of presenters, as it were. But we didn't feel in control. We didn't feel it was sustaining. We would guarantee another one next year and everything like that. And that was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. This was beginning. And we were pretty much organising the various tracks at NI Days. There was a user group track, and at NI Week we had the ballroom with all different things like that, and that was fine. But it was something for me that was kind of missing. So, as you wanted a video to be a guy at the back doing his best with the video and all this kind of thing. And there was a little bit of me that's like, giving out this free material. And a lot of us put a lot of time in presentations. We put a lot of effort into presentations. And I know, one of mine, I spent 6 months on it. It's ridiculous, but that's what I spent, And actually, the reward for that was not full. So anyway, that's how it started. The idea started. We came out of it was pretty much an NI Days, I think it was in London, the organisation, and we went down the pub, and they said no, we're not having any user group stuff. We're not having any development stuff. So that's off the table now. So we just decided to do it ourselves, and the best punk way of doing things is you organise it yourself then. So that's how it started. And we really wanted it to be, certainly in Europe, I wanted the organisation to be, a board of all the user group leaders. So that's what we brought our board in. And I also, one of my personal things is that I wanted to try democratic management, and I'm very keen on that thing. And that leads into the call for presentation, call for papers, this democratic management idea. So now we're looking at multiple GDevCons in multiple continents. Each one can be managed slightly differently, but generally we have a very common ideas. We're here to put graphical programming content out in an event, aren't we? Generally keep that going year on year. That's that. So yeah, should we talk about presentations? That's a bit of history. So what we want to do is put the call for presentations out and give people enough time to write those presentations once they've been accepted. I don't necessarily want people to be writing the presentations if they're rejected. So that means we start the call fairly early, and as we're all volunteer organisations, it's never quite as early as we want it to be. We try. That's the plan. So we have this plan. So currently there's a call for papers for both NA and Europe. And I'll talk through the European procedure, because we actually do have a procedure, and that'll probably give people an idea of what they have to do. So if you go onto the GDevCon website, European.com, GDevCon.com, if you go down the bottom, it says, can I volunteer? And there's the submission portal, which takes you to peoplecall.io/GDevCon4. This is just a website that it just allows you to bung in your details. So you have to register we use LinkedIn to register mine. And then you go in and you put in your abstract. So essentially, it's got a few notes, which I'll talk about in a minute, about what the presentation should be about and all that kind of thing. And I'll go through those rules, but generally, we want a title, we want an elevator pitch, we want to be a talk time, level, and then a description. And then any notes, any tags or anything like that you want to put on it, which will help us to then go through it. And now, because we're doing this system, it's completely anonymous to us, the voting committee. So the voting committee is everyone at GDevCon, so who organises it. And as far as I'm concerned, everyone gets a vote. There are exceptions, and we have one rule in place, which is for if you're from the same company. So if there's 2 or 3 people on our board that are from the same company, there'll be a discussion about whether they can vote for somebody from their own company, as it were.
Can I interject real quick?
Yeah.
So in GDevCon N.A, our process is more or less the same. We have a link on our website that says presenters, and you can go there and get more information. And there's a link, it's a Google form, similar to what Steve was mentioning. We do not do stuff anonymously, so we actually look at the presenters as we're trying to sort through people. So that's just like one key difference. And for us, we don't have the company's thing, but we have our board votes, so very similar.
And to be brutally honest, with this year, we were thinking about going that route as well, not being anonymous, but actually there was a pushback from the group that said, yeah, no, that's one thing that makes it us sort of unique, and we've done it from the start. So, I mean, I was pushing for not to be anonymous and actually push things forward, because I've got it'll be nice to announce programmers before the end of the announce programming before the end of the whole process. It was, it was well argued, the counterpoint. In a democracy, you can't always get your own way, but it was okay. So this year we are going even more anonymous, because this system shows me, because I always used to knew it. Now the people that are even me as now, I don't know who I'm voting for. I'm voting purely on the abstract. Obviously, you can get clues from the abstract. We don't go too far down the road, but that's generally the process. So I observed a few do's and don'ts. So because we are a single board, it's probably better for you not to submit a proposal or a presentation that is very similar to what we had at GDevCon 3. Because we'll look at that again. Yeah, we've seen that. The other mistake that happened a while back was some guys from the same company who submitted 4 presentations, one each, all on the same project. And they didn't get through either. And it's a shame, because it was quite interesting. I quite like the show and tells. But it just watered down the vote. So again, if you're in that situation, if you're going to submit a presentation or a project that other people are going, you went up, do it together. Talk to us. That's the other aspect. Just reach out, talk to us. We'll take you through the process. What will best get you through? Because we're interested.
I'm going to interject. So for our parts, we actually we know who the presenters are. So we had someone Derek put in like 4 presentations because like, hey, I got all these interesting presentations, blah, blah, blah. So you can throw several at us and that's okay. If you do, probably reach out to us and be like, hey, this is the one I really want to do. But if, these other ones might also fit and we'll work with people. So we do. We try to balance it. We try to have a mix of new presenters and a mix of existing presenters. So, so we need some people who have some name recognition because we hope that they bring in more people and they bring in their audience and stuff. But we also want to make room for new people. So we try. I can't say that we've always been completely fair, but we try to be. So
no, and we wanted to wait. We wanted to weight it to new presenters as well. Again, not because we want all new presenters, but I do agree. We really want 10% of the presenters to be new who've never done it before, and because you need to keep feeding the pipeline. You need to, and then it's you don't want to see the same old faces every time. It's I don't know, but then I've got ADHD. I'm sure. So the 3 frameworks weren't really voted for. A couple of people put in some quite technical framework presentations, they didn't get through really. What was the other ones? If you put in a really long abstract, that's unlikely to get through. Make it snappy. Time-wise, we say 30 to 45 minutes. And as an organizer, and I'll open up the Pandora's box a bit here, is when we had no money, it was actually quite nice to have hour-long presentations because you give one ticket for 1 hour. That was obviously much cheaper than giving one ticket for half an hour. But I think we are moving towards wanting shorter presentations. I really quite like the idea of 30-minute max presentations and lots of little small presentations. Because I think if you can't say it in 30 minutes, you're probably not really going to say it in an hour, right? So it's that's the kind of feeling we have on sort of presentation time. So short is good.
I brought that up at our last GDevCon N.A board meeting, and there was some discussion about it. And so we're in the process of voting on that. So I don't know which way that's going to go. I don't know if we're going to stick with 45. Ours were like 45 minutes to an hour as opposed to 30 to 45. And I'm trying to get them to go down to 30. I don't know if that will go through or not. So
I was very pleased with the timings of the agenda in Amsterdam. There was a lot of time for chatting, and that's what I like. I like a lot of do a presentation, then a chat, and it's called further worked really well. So we could have, if you want to talk about the presentation you just seen, you could talk directly in discourse. So that worked pretty well. So I know editorial policies. Essentially for us, and this will be the same for another, I bet, it's if it's just self-promotion, if you're just going to say, we built this great machine and it worked really well, and this is my company, here's my card, you're not going to get it. You'll just get rejected. If we feel that's your main purpose and the only purpose for being there, then you're not going to school. Say toolkits, if you want us to, if it's a paid toolkit, that will get voted down, I always guarantee. It's not necessarily against our editorial, but not very many people with a paid toolkit are going to get to stand on that. And that applies for companies presenting their software, for example. It's the same thing. If you're just presenting your sold software, then that's again going to get grossly downvoted, I would think. We like original content. That's always going to be good. Our actual editorial policy for the last 2. So the last one we didn't quite so much just because of COVID. I mean, it's a bit unfair. You know, you had to hold on to it for 2 years, but the first couple of GDevCons, we said they had to be original for a GDevCon and not have been seen before, which you can circumvent to extent because you can modify. You know, if stuff changes, so you can modify your slides and say this is an update on what I did, and that won't be too bad. You know, that will go. So it sounds like a hard and fast rule, but it's
Yeah. We're not very strict on that over here. I mean, we basically say we prefer original content, and that's kind of the wording. So if you present something that's not original, and we have a spot and we like it, we'll pick it. But that will knock you down on our list a little bit.
Yeah, the ones that really tick the boxes. So if you're enthusiastic about this, it's a subject you're really enthusiastic about. And again, this applies to the large companies that are sending somebody for marketing. If you want to do that, that's cool. The best way to market to us is they come up with a passion project and they tell us all about their passion project. That's good marketing for us. You know, you'll get the best marketing out of that rather than say, you know, this is, I don't know, equipment X and it's really good and I've been told to stand here and tell you all about it. Not going to get through. If it helps LabVIEW developers in a practical fashion, pragmatic stuff is a word we kick around a lot. This is generally what we like to talk about is if you give us 30 minutes of your time on stage and I come away from that thinking, that's going to make me a better programmer. That's going to make my projects more predictable. That's going to do this, that, and the other. I'm going to go off and work on it. And that's perfect. That is absolutely the perfect presentation. We're ready for it. I reckon the number of presentations and rejections, this is the bit I hate. We usually reject a half to 2/3 of the presentations we give just through time. So essentially, the way it works is that we get a list of all the presentations that get through our editorial, as it were. We get a spreadsheet, we give them points, and then the top, however many it is, get points. So we actually work out the number of slots. We say, there's 15 slots, and there's 15 points. So the one you like best is 15, the one you like least is 1, and any you don't want to see are zeros. Then you add up the points accordingly, and the ones with the most points get through. And that's the process. That's how we run it. This worked.
I was going to say, I do like that. I like the ranked choices stuff. For us, basically, we just have a spreadsheet and everybody gets a vote on every presentation, and all the ones where everybody says yes pretty much get in. And then we fit those in, and then we go down the list, and the next how many votes, we look at that and see what fits where. So it's not quite as rigorous as that, but I do like that idea.
Yeah, it's worked pretty well. I think think there's advantages and disadvantages. I think this year I was really, if you'd have talked to me last year, I was really up for it. This year I'm wavering now. So that's the way with an organisation. It should constantly change. You know, this constant conversation that we are having to sort of say, well, what was it like sort of from a presentation perspective? What we did better? And really, the way I think we're running it now is that we want a less packed agenda, shorter, snappier presentations, and then more space in between to talk about them, really. And that's probably, it boils down to say what the bottom line is. What else? Oh, big thing. So if you get accepted, you get a free ticket. That's one day when we've got hundreds of people coming and we can afford it. You get a free ticket, travel, expenses, blah blah blah. We're not there yet, but that's certainly my ambition for everything is that I I want presenters to be rewarded. I want there to be a business case rather than just random marketing, to be able to stand up and do stuff. I think once we get to that stage, we can get presenters, from outside the LabVIEW community, and that would be interesting. So if you are new and you want help, reach out. So all of the board members, pretty much all of them on both sides of the pond and over in Australia, I'll say that. All of them are experienced presenters. And there's no set presentation style that works. In fact, having a different presentation style from everybody else works brilliant. One of the best presentations I saw was a guy, and he read from his notes, and that's it. Everyone says, "Oh, we can't do that." Great presentation, good content. It worked. It was quick enough. Blah blah blah. So there's no rules. And if you've ever seen any of my presentations, you'll know that there's no rules.
Well, I think the presentation style needs to fit the content, and then it also needs to fit your personality. So if you match all those up, that's pretty good.
Yeah, find yourself comfortable. I was talking the other day to someone, and first presentation I ever did, I was terrified. It was in front of 300 people, and I was absolutely terrified of presenting. And I rehearsed it, and I learned the script, and I rehearsed it, and I stood up. And because I was nervous, I forgot everything. And it just went. And I walked off there, and I said, "I'm never presenting ever again. That's it. I'm done. This is hell." And you just have to find your method. And again, to say, if you're learning, just reach out. We'll talk you through the various sort of coping mechanisms and how you can make it easy to you and how you can test it and make it enjoyable, because it is enjoyable. It's good fun presenting. Once you get over that barrier, it's quite addictive.
You guys are looking for CLD level presentations, CLD and higher. For us at GDevCon N.A, we would love to have a few beginner presentations. Ideally, there's an ideal way to do a presentation. Stephen Loftus-Bushy, I think, has this nailed. And basically, you start very basic, and as the presentation goes on, you build. And so, like, the first 10 minutes are on the basic principles, which, a beginner can look at that and kind of get something out of it. And then the rest is, like, execution. And that's, like, the CLD level. And then there's the CLA level that, like, dives into the theory and how to make it better and how to tweak it. I think if you can put out a presentation, you can do that, like, graduation. Then you can cover really advanced topics, and you can have something for everyone. So that would be my advice. If you can figure out how to work that into your presentation, I think that just makes for better presentations altogether. So
I think also thinking out of the box, really. So one of the most enjoyed presentations with the best feedback we had was at Birmingham, I think, and that was to do with oscilloscopes and noise, and just with lots of practical examples about what you're seeing on an oscilloscope signal. And it was fantastic. Gary Borman did a fantastic.
That was probably the best presentation I've seen at a LabVIEW conference.
Yeah, and there was no LabVIEW, and that's.
I'll call out Hunter Smith. He did one at GDevCon N.A recently, and it was on user interface design, but it had almost nothing to do with LabVIEW. It was like how to make your user interface tell a story and labeling things and kind of directing the person's eye and giving them information about what to do next. And like, it didn't have to be LabVIEW. It could have been any programming language. I thought that was very, yeah.
And there are quite a lot of generic subjects that are of interest to the audience, that aren't just LabVIEW and graphical programming. And graphical programming is not just LabVIEW. So I even though we are from the LabVIEW community, I'd really like to see some ladder logic. I'd really like to see some PLC stuff. I just would. I just did, how you use different graphical languages to, Node-RED or something like that to build software. I just think all of those would be interesting as well. So again, thinking outside of the box. If you've got something like that, that would be cool too.
All right. Well, very good. Thanks for talking, Steve. Hopefully this gives our listeners some useful information.
hopefully, and we'll get some good presentations, hopefully.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. That's it for today's episode of the LabVIEW Experiment. Thanks for listening. If you have any comments or questions, head over to thelabviewexperiment.com and drop me a note. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at @TheLVExperiment so you never miss an episode. And remember, small steps and quick feedback are all you need. Catch you next time.